and the harbor, Guanabara Bay. Brazilians will assure you that beyond question, their capital and its harbor are the most beautiful in all the world. It was first seen by Europeans when Captain André Gonçalves, a Portuguese explorer, sailed here January 1st, 1502, almost 10 years after Columbus discovered America in 1492. These early sailors thought surely the huge bay must be the mouth of a river, so they named it Rio de Janeiro. In English, the River of January. We are looking at Rio from atop Corcovado, a peak 2,300 feet high. We can see how the city has grown along the ocean and the harbor and in the valleys between the hills. Almost 2.5 million people live in Rio today, making it one of the really great cities of the world. Rio is 400 years old, many years older than any city in our United States. For a city so old, Rio is spring new, including the main avenues, such as Avenida Getulio Vargas, so broad and straight. To make room for this avenue, the people of Rio tore down 1,400 old buildings, and still more are coming down to make room for more and more modern structures. Work such as this is familiar to us North Americans. We feel at home in Rio. New skyscrapers going up along the new avenue be at least 22 stories high. The people of Rio call themselves Cariocas. They are proud of their skyscrapers. Yes, they will tell you, we borrowed the idea from your North American cities, but we added our own styles. Outstanding examples of Brazilian architecture include the Ministry of Education building. The Cariocas like cool, fresh air, for their city is warm all the year round, like our Los Angeles and Miami. Their skyscrapers have solid awnings that can be set like shutters to keep out the hot sun, but still let in the breezes from the harbor. The Brazilian Press Association has its own outstanding skyscraper. Freedom of the press means much to all Brazilians. The nation has more than 150 radio stations, and television, now becoming immensely popular, is serviced by a growing network of stations. Like ourselves, the Brazilians read many magazines, books, and newspapers for sale at newsstands throughout all cities. All Brazilian children must go to school. They study subjects much the same as those taught in our North American schools. Students in certain schools dress alike, as do these girls who are studying to become teachers. In any of the Brazilian kindergartens, you might think you were right at home in your own school, but not if you listened closely, because of course these children are singing in Portuguese. But they do play almost exactly the same games and do dancing to music as we do. Later on, many of these boys and girls will learn to speak English. It is a compulsory subject in high school. The Monroe Palace is so named in honor of our President Monroe, who warned European kings long ago not to attack our South American friends. And those sidewalks, Cariocas love them, for they are found nowhere else in the world outside Brazil excepting Lisbon, Portugal. To Brazilians, their mother city. They're not just painted. The sidewalks are made up of millions of little stones, making them true mosaics. Rio's beautiful but busy harbor gives employment to thousands of Cariocas. Approximately 4,500 vessels enter the harbor every year. Brazil sends out to world markets coffee, cotton, cocoa beans, pine lumber, leather and hides, and wax. From other nations, Brazil gets machinery, wheat, oil and gasoline, steel articles, coal, and paper pulp. The greatest part of Brazil's trade is with the United States. We take more than half of her goods. From us, she buys more than from any other nation. Rio has many parks, as in our own big cities. Brazilians are most proud of their Amazon gardens and the lily ponds. For all Brazilians dream of the day when the Amazon jungles will be developed like our own West. The children of Rio study jungle ways. They learn that the traveler's palm will always yield fresh, pure drinking water to anyone lost in the jungle. It is a wonderful but strange jungle world Brazilian boys and girls study. But for flowers, no carioca has to visit a park. Flower stands are on many street corners, as they are in many of our cities, such as San Francisco or downtown New York. In Rio, flowers bloom every month, and huge birthday bouquets are common. To a Brazilian, it is not at all strange to see flowers go walking off, for he knows that a delivery man accustomed to carrying huge loads never lets any harm come to his burden. They are called caracadores and are most useful in narrow streets where a cart or truck could not move. The top men in the porter business are the bicycle delivery boys. A favorite joke in Rio is that if you wish to move a railroad car, call a bicycle boy. Wonder what happens when he has to stop suddenly. Coffee is Brazil's greatest crop. All other countries come to Brazil to buy Brazilian coffee. Brazil also produces much sugar, but exports very little. They use it up themselves. The artist must have his coffee too. You will notice that while Brazilians drink frequently, the cups are not too large. It is the same with the ladies. In the afternoon, at any of Rio's many restaurants, women who have been shopping or visiting stop in for their afternoon coffee. Cariocas are gay people. They're fond of going out to hotels, theaters, and restaurants, even more so than in most of our cities. When the day's work is done, the struggle to get home begins. At every bus stop, there are long lines. People wait patiently, for they know their great city is growing so fast that there are not enough buses and trolleys to take care of the crowds. Soon there will be, for Brazil has ordered many more from us. But, meanwhile, it's especially hard for people who live outside Rio itself and must use the trains. Since these pictures were made, more trains have been put in service, and the crowding usually is not so bad. The city, however, is still growing at a very fast rate. The Brazilians are a devout people. In thankfulness for a century of independence, they built a huge statue, the Christ of Rio, and put it on the peak of a mountain they call Corcovado. The statue stands 100 feet high and can be seen from far out at sea and from the city streets as well. Weekends are devoted to play, and in Rio 10 years ago, all this was a dreary. When people began to come here to frolic and to bathe, the city built a curving oceanfront avenue. Then came the builders, and a half moon of splendid hotels and modern apartments soon fringed the new boulevard. People live on the beach all year round, and each family wanted a porch for sunbathing. Builders worked out a way to do this, and their brand new ideas interested many North American planners and builders. Perhaps it is our turn to copy our Brazilian friends. Altogether, official figures indicate that the cost of living in Brazil is just about the same as in the United States. Most of the suburban homes are in the valleys. They are as modern as any North American home, with electricity for lighting and gas for cooking and heating. Almost all visitors to Rio ride to the top of Sugarloaf Mountain on the aerial cable car. Cariocas say that until you look upon their marvelous city from Sugarloaf, you cannot appreciate how beautiful it is. The cable line soon will be 50 years old. It is in 2 sections. We are on the first, which goes to a transfer landing 700 feet high. Then it is time for everyone to change cars to the second and really steep cable. Sugarloaf Mountain is 1,200 feet above the bay, about a quarter-mile high. As we go up, the car jounces a little, but no one is frightened. People talk as they look. our guide tells us about Brazil. The country has 52 million people, he assures us, and every one of them wants to come to Rio, if only for once in a lifetime. That is true, he continues, even for the million Indians in the jungles. They have heard of the magic city and believe that those who see it will live to be old. All visitors, the guide goes on, should be made to visit Brazil's other great coastal cities. Jewels, he says, along Brazil's 3,600-mile coastline on the Atlantic Ocean. All North Americans, and by that he means us, we know, should realize that Brazil also is a great democracy, where people are free and happy to govern themselves. A country, he says, with a heart as big as its great harbor, with a shoreline 100 miles long, and dotted with 80 islands, large and small. Remember, he concludes, remember that in Brazil, all Americans have a true friend, and that when any American, northern or southern, sees the Brazilian flag, he may say, "There flies the proud flag of my friends, the Brazilians, who love peace even as do I."